Judges chapter 9. And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went into Shechem to the brothers of his mother. And he spoke to them, and to all the kin of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak indeed into the ears of all the men of Shechem, saying, Which is best to you, for 70 men to rule you, all the sons of Jerubbaal, or for 1 man to dominate you? And you should remember that I am of your bone and of your flesh. And the brothers of his mother spoke concerning him in the ears of all of the men of Shechem all these words. And their heart leaned after Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother. And they gave to him 70 pieces of silver from out of the house of Baal-berith. And Abimelech hired for them vain and distraught men. And they went behind him. And he entered to the house of his father at Ophrah, and killed his brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal, 70 men upon 1 stone. But Jotham, the younger son of Jerubbaal, was left behind, for he was hidden. And came together all the men of Shechem, and all the house of Millo, and they went and gave rain to Abimelech as king, at the acorn tree of the station in Shechem. And they announced to Jotham, and he went and stood on the top of Mount Gerizim, and lifted up his voice, and called, and said to them, Hear me, men of Shechem, and God shall hear you. In going, the trees went forth to anoint for themselves a king. And they said to the olive tree, You reign over us. And the olive tree said to them, Allowing my fatness, which God glorified in me, and men, shall I go to rule over the trees? And the trees said to the fig tree, Come, you reign over us. And the fig tree said to them, Allowing my sweetness and my good produce, should I go to rule the trees? And the trees said to the grapevine, Come, you reign over us. And the grapevine said to them, Allowing my wine, the gladness of God and of the ones of men, should I go to rule over the trees? And all the trees said to the white thorn shrub, Come, you reign over us. And the white thorn shrub said to the trees, If in truth you anoint me yourselves to reign over you, come, rely in my protection. And if not, may fire come forth from out of the white thorn shrub, and may it devour the cedars of Lebanon. And now, if in truth and in soundness you made even Abimelech reign, and if you did well with Jerubbaal and with his house, and if according to the recompense of his hand you did to him, as my father waged war for you, and tossed his life right opposite, and rescued you from out of the house of Midian, and you rose up against the house of my father today, and you killed his sons, 70 men upon 1 stone, and gave rain to Abimelech the son of his maidservant over the men of Shechem, for he is your brother. And if you acted in truth and perfection with Jerubbaal and his house in this day, may you be glad in Abimelech, and may he be glad also indeed himself in you. If not, may fire come forth from out of Abimelech, and devour the men of Shechem and the house Millo. And may fire come forth from the men of Shechem and from out of the house of Millo, and devour Abimelech. And Jotham ran away, and fled, and went unto Beer. And he dwelt there away from the face of Abimelech his brother. And Abimelech ruled over Israel 3 years. And God sent a bad spirit between Abimelech and between the men of Shechem. And the men of Shechem annulled allegiance with the house of Abimelech, so as to bring the injustice done to the 70 sons of Jerubbaal, and for their blood to be put upon Abimelech their brother, the one killing them, and upon the men of Shechem, of the ones strengthening their hands, so as to kill his brothers. And the men of Shechem put for him ones lying in wait upon the top of the mountains, and they kidnapped all the ones going along by them in the way. And it was reported to Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came, and his brothers, and they went unto Shechem. And the men of Shechem relied in him. And they went forth into the field, and gathered the vintage of their vineyards, and they treaded, and they made a dance, and entered into the house of their God, and ate, and drank, and cursed Abimelech. And Gaal, son of Ebed, said, Who is Abimelech? And who is the son of Shechem, that we shall serve to him? Is he not the son of Jerubbaal, and Zebul his overseer, his bondman with the men of Hamor, father of Shechem? And why is it that we shall serve to him ourselves? And if any should give this people into my hand, then I shall remove Abimelech, and I shall say to Abimelech, Multiply your force, and come forth. And Zebul, the ruler of the city, heard the words of Gaal, son of Ebed, and he was enraged in anger. And he sent messengers to Abimelech with bribes, saying, Behold, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his brothers have come unto Shechem, and know they assault the city against you. And now rise up at night, you and the people with you, and lie in wait in the field. And it will be in the morning, together with the rising of the sun, that you shall rise early and stretch out against the city. And behold, when he and the people with him go forth against you, that you shall do to him just as your hand should find opportunity. And Abimelech rose up, and all the people with him at night, and they laid in wait at Shechem 4 companies. And Gaal, son of Ebed, came forth, and stood at the door of the gate of the city. And Abimelech rose up, and all the people with him, from out of the ambush. And Gaal, son of Ebed, saw the people. And he said to Zebul, Behold, a people coming from the tops of the mountains. And Zebul said to him, The shadow of the mountains you see as men. And Gaal proceeded still to speak, and said, Behold, a people coming down, as a sea from the part next to the navel of the earth. And one company arrives from the way of the oak of the seers. And Zebul said to him, Where is your mouth? The one saying, Who is Abimelech, that we shall serve to him? Is this not the people whom you treated with contempt? Go forth indeed now, and wage war with him. And Gaal went forth from the presence of the men of Shechem, and made war against Abimelech. And Abimelech pursued him, and he fled from his face. And there fell slain many unto the doors of the city. And Abimelech settled in Arumah. And Zebul cast out Gaal and his brothers, so as to not live in Shechem. And it came to pass in the next day, and came forth the people into the plain, and reported to Abimelech. And he took the people, and divided them into 3 companies, and laid in wait in the field, and watched. And behold, a people came forth from out of the city, and he rose up against them, and struck them. And Abimelech, and the companies with him, stretched out and stood by the door of the gate of the city. And the other 2 companies poured out upon all the ones in the field, and he struck them. And Abimelech made war against the city that entire day, and they overtook the city, and the people in it they killed. And he demolished the city, and sowed it with salt. And all the men of the tower of Shechem heard, and they entered into the fortress of the house of Bethel-berith. And it was announced to Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were brought together. And Abimelech ascended into Mount Zalmon, he and all the people with him. And Abimelech took the axe in his hand, and cut a load of wood, and took it, and put it upon his shoulders. And he said to the people with him, "What you see me doing, quickly, you do as also I." And they felled wood, and indeed to them all each was a load. And they lifted and went after Abimelech, and placed the wood at the fortress, and set fire to them at the fortress with fire. And all died, the men of the tower of Shechem, about 1,000 men and women. And Abimelech went unto Thebez, and besieged it, and first took it. And there was a strong tower in the midst of the city. And fled there all the men and the women and all the leaders of the city, and they shut up themselves, and ascended upon the roof of the tower. And Abimelech came unto the tower, and they subdued it by war. And Abimelech approached unto the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a woman tossed one piece of millstone upon the head of Abimelech, and it fractured his skull. And he yelled out quickly to the servant lifting his weapons, and he said to him, "Unsheath my broadsword and kill me, lest at any time they should say that a woman killed him." And his servant stabbed him, and he died. And each man of Israel saw that Abimelech died, and each man departed to his place. And God returned the evil of Abimelech which he did to his father, by killing his 70 brothers. And all the evil of the men of Shechem God returned on their own head, and came upon them the curse of Jotham the son of Jerubbaal.